Today I want to do a follow-up episode on the Kevin Shea podcast that we did. And it was our first guest that we had on the podcast. And one of the things I want to start doing, because I thought about it so much after the episode, is I want to start doing a follow-up every time we have a guest. And maybe that's what these shorter clips are going to turn into. But it was such an eye-opening experience for me when we had Kevin on, because you talk about someone, again, that I had met multiple times, had spoke with multiple times, and was just always just such a humble, easy to talk to guy. You know, whether I was seeing him at FDIC, whether he was coming by our facility, whether he came to our golf tournament, whatever it was, he was just always so humble and easy to talk to. And a lot of us know people like that. But a couple of even the mistakes I want to talk about, because that's what this podcast is about, is we're talking about confident risks and how do we get more confident in the risks that we take. And for that episode, for me, it was the first time I'd ever had somebody on. And I was thinking to myself that, well, in this episode, I'm going to really just sit down. I'm going to just find out about his story. But one of the things that even, let's just say, I did wrong during that episode was I didn't do enough research in that episode. What I really should have done is found out a lot more about those scenarios that he was in, because the more I would have known, the more I could have asked. And the more research I did after that and just talking to him on that show, I think back, man, there were so many things I wish that I would have asked him, and maybe some of you want to hear that. So hopefully, again, we'll have him on at some point. But the biggest thing that I took away from that episode was, again, the humility. And thinking about and watching some of those videos where you're seeing Kevin, who's running around on top of this building, 12 stories up in the air, and he's looking for a tie-off point, and Patty Barr's going off to the side of this thing. And Kevin finally says, you know what, I'm just going to put this rope around me. And he puts this rope around himself, lays down on top of this roof. Guys jump on top of him. Rope's going off to the side. And put yourself in that situation for a second. There's maybe some firefighters watching, but you put yourself in that situation. It's like, would I have done that? And it's easy to say, yeah, I would have done that. But I don't know that there's too many people that would have. And I could be wrong. It's easy for us to say right now, oh, I'd go skydiving if I got the chance. But then you get in the plane, you get up there like, man, I don't know if that was just me talking or if that I really would do it. Because I've asked myself that a couple of times too, is like, would I have done the same thing? And I tell myself, yes, I would have. But when it hits the ground, would we? And I'd like to think that I would. But actually, something else that really took away from me too was that we had a camera guy up there filming that whole situation. And instead of him putting down that camera and laying on top and helping, he was still filming. I'd be interested to talk to that guy too. But it's just such a crazy phenomenon on that rope rescue. And then something that we didn't talk about that is that then Kevin then actually went over the side of the building after that to rescue somebody. And you think about, not only did he tie himself off, but he then went off the side of the building, but then he went off the side of the building himself. And to think about even that scenario, would I have done that? And then if we go back to the World Trade Center bombings, when he's doing a search and rescue and he falls 4.5 stories and hits the ground. I mean, put yourself in that situation. And he has to retire later because of that. But the situation that he's gone through and that he can talk so humbly about just goes back to the training that he went through to be able to put himself in those situations. And there's so many of us as we go down this podcast and we talk about, the confidence that we have to have and the how much better we want to get. And a lot of times it's financially or the friendships that we have. But he was doing that as a job. That was his job. And we think about the first responders and we think about people who do that on an everyday basis, whether you're in the police department, fire department, EMS, the military, whatever it is, you guys fill in the blanks of what that thing is. But to put yourself in those situations on a daily basis, knowing that any moment you would have to go do that, especially for those of us who have families, it's extremely, I can't tell you enough how much I've thought about that. And just having that one conversation with Kevin, and I'm sure there's many other firefighters out there who have had the same situations that you've been in or similar situations where, you've really had to put yourself out there. But the gratitude that I have, we've been on the training side for so long where we're making training devices for fire departments and, how can we get forcible entry doors and ventilation props and roof hatches and all these things for fire departments to be able to just train better. And we think about that constantly. How can we train better? How can we train better? But then you hear the stories like that. And we're able to live through that experience that Kevin went through. And we're able to put ourselves in that situation to hear firsthand from him and what that takes. I know for me, it put me in a totally different mindset. I now put myself in that situation and watching that video of him just being up there and hearing the stories of him falling, and to be able to be sitting here and talking to someone who's been through that. And again, they're amongst us every day. First responders out there, every single one of them go through these things every single day. And it's easy for us to sit back, and this isn't supposed to be anything political or anything to that effect. This is strictly put yourself in those situations of those people every single day who are doing scenarios like that. You just have an absolute insane amount of respect for each and every single one of them. And I just want to say thank you to all of you first responders, and for Kevin for coming on the show. The humility is what you really showed me, and the confidence you had and the risks that you were taking and what you did is absolutely unbelievable. And the outpour and the people that we had who reached out to us after that show and who knew Kevin, and the lives that Kevin has touched across all the different training platforms he's gone to and shows that he's gone to and everything that he's done. We can't thank Kevin enough for coming. And I took away from that the confidence that he had, the humility he had, and I can't wait to have him back on again. Can't wait to talk to him about more episodes like that and just other situations and things that he's gone through, because there's even more. And to think that we have people, again, walking among us who are doing that on an everyday basis just brings and sheds so much light onto what you guys go through. And I can't say thank you enough to all of you. We appreciate you. Thanks again.